بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وعلى من تبع هداهم إلى يوم الدين. We are at the moment in Kitab, the moon, when the moon split, that is Wafat ibnatihi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the death of the daughter of the Prophet sallallahu Ruqayyah, and the marriage of Uthman to the second daughter Kulthum. Now,
page 202. Ruqayyah dies and Uthman radiallahu anhu marries Kulthum radiallahu anha. When the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam left for the battle of Badr, his daughter Ruqayyah radiallahu anha was ill. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked Uthman radiallahu anhu, her husband, to stay in Medina to attend to his sick wife. He would get the same reward the Prophet ﷺ promised him and an equal share of the booty as those who fought at Badr.
So for those who are talking about Uthman to be a coward, radiallahu anhu arda, or that person who came to Abdullah ibn Umar and he was challenging him regarding Uthman radiallahu anhu arda, that he did not attend the truce of Al-Hudaybiyah and he did not attend the battle of Badr. As for that, not attending the battle of the Badr, he said to him, the Prophet of Allah, he is the one who commanded him to stay behind, to look after his wife, and not him as well, also Usama ibn Zayd. And he said to him, verily you will have the share of a fighter, that is from the war booty, and the reward of a person who's a mujahid. So Uthman was not a coward, radiallahu anhu warda. As for him being fled in the battle of Uhud, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala pardoned them, all the companions who had fled at the beginning. So we do have some incident that took place to some of the companions where Allah Azza wa Jal had pardoned the companions. And Allah Azza wa Jal had pardoned number of times the companions, for example, those who had left behind in the battle of Tabuk, the three, وَعَلَى الثَّلَاثَةِ الَّذِينَ خُلِّفُوا, and those who had left behind in the battle of Tabuk, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had pardoned them. And when Allah Azza wa Jal pardoned someone, no one is allowed to go and talk about the history or the past of that companion in which he had done the mistake. Exactly the same way, we're not allowed to come and blame now Adam alayhi salam for eating the tree, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had pardoned him. We're not allowed, for example, to blame Nuh alayhi salam because he asked for exemption for his son, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had pardoned him. So don't go to the past of someone whom Allah Azza wa Jal had already declared his pardon and declared that it is his, Allah Azza wa Jal, the matter is in his hand. It's not for you to decide which one to pardon and which one not. And this is why we say and remind the brothers to be careful. There's two from Bani Israel. One was striving in the ibadah, and the other one, he was not. He was indulging in sins. So he said to him, verily Allah will not forgive for you. So the Prophet ﷺ, he narrated the hadith, he said, and then Allah Azza wa Jalla said, Man dhal ladhi yata'alla alayh? Who is putting himself as a guard beside me? This is the business of God. To pardon or not to pardon, to forgive or not to forgive. For verily, I have forgiven for that person whom the person said, Wallah, Allah will not pardon for you, and I will not forgive for them. Who the one who he thinks that he is upon the right path. So be careful to distance somebody to the hellfire before he dies. Because if he's dead, before he dies, he could be anything. And even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told the Prophet ﷺ, when he supplicated against the mighty people of Quraysh, like Abu Sufyan radiallahu anhu, and Safwan ibn Umayyah, and he started supplicating against them. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he said, لَيْسَ لَكَ مِنَ الْأَمْرِ شَيْءٍ. It is not in your hand, O Prophet of Allah, to say that, oh Allah, distance them away, oh Allah, put them in the hellfire. And it turns to be that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had made the guidance for them available, and they chose the guidance. Safwan ibn Umayyah, he embraced Islam at the time of the opening of Mecca, the repossession of Mecca. And he used to, as he said, he used to hate the Prophet ﷺ so much. But when the Prophet of Allah, in the war booty of Hunayn, he had given him so much. Not only that, the Prophet ﷺ, he asked to borrow some of his camels and some of his shield. So he asked, "O Muhammad ﷺ, is it ariyatun maghmuna or ariyatun that is mustaradda? That is it going to ariyah? Is this a borrow? Is he going to be guaranteed? He's going to come back? Or ariyatun muadda? Or is not going to be guaranteed?" So the Prophet ﷺ, he said, "No, it will be guaranteed for you." So he borrowed from him, and then when the way back, he did not give him the 30 shields that he had borrowed from him or the camels he borrowed from him. He gave him valleys of camels. You know, a valley full of camels? And that is why he said, the Prophet of Allah had given me and started giving me until he became to me the most dearest person. He went back to his tribe, he said, this man is giving such a giving that he does not fear poverty. So Safwan bin Umayyah, because of the giving, he said, Wallahi, the Prophet of Allah was the most hated person to me. After he's given me so much, he became the most beloved person to me. No one is now to say, look at Safwan, he was saying before. Well, he's a companion. He's embraced Islam, and we're not allowed to talk about, for example, the past of Hatib ibn Abi Balta'a, when he wrote a letter to the people of Quraysh warning them about the Prophet of Allah that's about to attack Mecca. We're not allowed to do that. So Uthman Affan radiallahu anhu, Allah pardoned him from fleeing in the battle. Allah as well, Allah's messenger told him to stay behind the battle of Badr, and also in the truce of Al-Hudaybiyah, the Prophet of Allah, he had sent him to negotiate with the people of Quraysh and to tell them they're not coming to attack. So he was the most beloved person, one of the most beloved persons to the Prophet's heart, because he didn't find anybody who can be as close as possible to the Prophet of Allah, and also close to the ones which are in Mecca, because he got so many relatives, and he could negotiate, and he could tell the people of Quraysh and convince them that the Muslims are not about to attack them, but they are coming just to pay a umrah to the Masjid al-Haram. Now,
Usama ibn Zayd radiallahu anhu was asked to stay in Medina for the same reason. Unfortunately, Ruqayya radiallahu anha died before the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam returned. Usama ibn Zayd radiallahu anhu said, the news of the victory came to us after we had already buried Ruqayya radiallahu anha. Later the Prophet ﷺ gave his daughter Kulthum radiallahu anha in marriage to the bereaved Uthman radiallahu anhu. Because he was married to two of the Prophet ﷺ's daughters in succession, Uthman radiallahu anhu came to be called Dhun Nurayn, one who has two lights. Kulthum radiallahu anha died while married to Uthman radiallahu anhu in the month of Sha'ban, 9 after Hijri, and was buried next to the Prophet ﷺ's mosque in the cemetery known as Baqiyah.
Right, just before you... Dhun Nurayn is a title given to Uthman radiallahu anhu for marrying both the daughters of the Prophet ﷺ. And here the Nur is the Nur of the guidance that comes from the Prophet of Allah. And it's not the Nur that the Sufi people talk about, which is an attribute, belongs to Allah the Almighty subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah, He has attribute of the Nur that hijabuhu Nur. His veil is the Nur. This is not the light, the Nur, that the Prophet ﷺ, he brought when he came to mankind, and when he as well entered Medina, as Anas described. He said, as soon as the Prophet of Allah entered Medina, everything in Medina was lit. And when the Prophet of Allah had departed, that means he died, everything was dark. Because of the Prophet ﷺ rank and place in the hearts of the companions. If we can go back please on to, before we have started, the last paragraph of the captives. And I have said that I was not really sure about regarding Zainab radiallahu anha, when the Prophet ﷺ, he had seen her necklace being sent to him, and he remembered Khadija's necklace, and he was in sorrow, and that hadith was, we said, authentic. And then we said that the Prophet ﷺ, had set him free after setting a condition. Now that setting up with a condition, we said is We said what, unauthentic? Or we're not sure. Now, I have found a hadith which is hasan, not as a condition, but that the Prophet ﷺ, he had either commanded him or that man promised him. We don't have not sure. So the hadith says either the Prophet ﷺ commanded him, it's not a condition, but either the Prophet ﷺ commanded him or he, that is the man, Abu As, what? Promised him, and he fulfilled his promise. Now, and this is to be Hasan, and it's Sunan Abi Dawood. Now, Rahimahullah. Fadl. So, just to show that the Prophet ﷺ, he set him free because of the what? Of the necklace. Remember that. And the battle of the Badr, the Prophet ﷺ, he set a number of people free. He even set them free for no money. They can't offer it, just to teach other people. Then he will be set free. Among them Abu As and Zainab, she couldn't afford except for that what? Qilada, which is the necklace. She sent it to the Prophet himself, and he recognized Khadija's Qilada. That's why he was in sorrow and he was in tears. Now,
chapter 17, page 205, the time between the Battle of Badr and the Battle of Uhud. Events after Badr. The victory Allah granted the Muslims at Badr deeply grieved the pagans. Revenge was uppermost on their minds, and to this end they devised plans to inflict heavy losses on the Muslims. As events show us, Allah, however, turned the tables on the Quraysh and blessed the Muslims with further triumphs and even more prestige. Just 1 week after the return from Badr, or after 2.5 or 3 months, according to some sources, Banu Sulaym began conscripting an army to invade Medina. In a preemptive strike, the Muslims raided their base and came back with booty. Then Umayr bin Wahab Jumahi and Safwan bin Umayyah decided to assassinate the Prophet ﷺ. Umayr stole into Medina, hoping to carry out this mission, but was apprehended as soon as he entered Medina. Allah had revealed Umayr's motive to the Prophet ﷺ, who in turn disclosed Umayr's secret plan to him. Umayr repented and embraced Islam.
Right, now those, when we have just said that Banu Sulaym, they got ready to invade the Medina after a week from the return of the Muslims from the Battle of Badr, and that was in the Muharram of the 3rd Hijrah. All of that, we don't have chains which are to trace it, so this has been mentioned in the history, but we can't really validate the authenticity. So we say that, true, the people of Quraysh, they were not at all relaxed when they were in agony because they've lost the Battle of Badr. Even I would tell you that the people in the Medina themselves, they couldn't believe that the companions had won. The Muslims couldn't believe it. As for the hypocrites and the mushrik, any person conveying them the news that the Muslims had won before the Muslims returned, they would say to him, "Are you crazy? Something wrong with you?" And that is authentic. But when the Muslims came, and on their faces the triumph, and also dragging behind them those 70 captives in chains and fetters, imagine they're dragging them all, prisoners of war. And you know that 70 died as well from the mushrikeen. How many died from the Muslims? 40, very good. So it's a big triumph. So as soon as the Muslims entered the Medina, now they've realized that that is a true news. And that is why some of the mushrikeen embraced Islam. Some of them embraced Islam just on the outward, not in the inward. Some of the hypocrites pretended to be entering Islam, and they were not, of course, and some of them, they were plotting, already plotting. They hate that the Islam had triumphed. So, as I said, it was a big battle for the Muslims, and now we're coming to how these people of Quraysh started provoking the ones who are living in the Medina from the Jews, threatening them, and they never relaxed until they were, the following year, straight away, they are in the Battle of Uhud. So they're preparing to get revenge for the Battle of the Badr. They were preparing already as soon as they left, went back, they were preparing for the Battle of Badr. Now,
expedition against Banu Qaynuqa. Even though the victory at Badr was decisive, it did not spell a reprieve for the Muslims. In fact, each tribe among the pagans and the Jews took it upon itself to keep up the pressure by harassing the Muslim state. The Jews of Banu Qaynuqa engaged in openly hostile acts, and when the Prophet ﷺ called on them to refrain, they retorted derisively, "Do not delude yourself, Muhammad."
what's that word?
Derisive.
What does that mean? Okay. Please Google it. Mockery.
They retorted derisively, "Do not delude yourself, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Just because some naive fools and simpletons have
Who's
entered
naive fools are you talking about? The Quraysh.
have entered your fold. Should you ever fight against us, you will test our courage as men of valor." The Prophet ﷺ responded with his customary patience, which brought forth even more provocation from Banu Qaynuqa. Banu Qaynuqa started a clash in the marketplace, which resulted in the death of a Muslim and a Jew. This time the Prophet ﷺ dealt with them firmly. He ordered the Muslims to besiege the enemy. It was Saturday, the middle of Shawwal, 2 after Hijri. After holding out a fortnight, Banu Qaynuqa laid down their arms on the night of the new moon of Dhul Qa'dah. The Prophet ﷺ expelled them, driving them away towards Adrat in Syria, where most of them died shortly afterwards.
We're going to talk a bit more about this. First of all, the tribes around the Medina are 3. Banu Qaynuqa', Banu Nadir, Banu Qurayza. And this is the order that they've been expelled. Banu Qaynuqa' first, and then Banu Nadir, and then later on Banu Qurayza at the Battle of the Trench. So, and of course, there was Jews in Khaybar, which is not in the Medina, this is far away from the Medina. But the ones who are out in the Medina, outskirts of the Medina. So, now talking about Banu Qaynuqa'. When the Prophet ﷺ, he had entered the Medina, when he migrated, he made covenant with those Jews that they will be united against the outside enemy. And he incited and encouraged, he had exhorted the Muslims and prompted them properly, that is to keep their covenant properly and to guide them and not to create a contract with the people of the book. Not only that, he threatened any person who would belittle or oppress or unjustly deals with or overburdens a person or breaches contract or kill one of those people who are under the covenant, that he will be his opponent on the day of atonement. And a hadith will be Yawm al-Qiyamah. So this is a threat from the Prophet ﷺ, not to harm those people of the book, whether in the soul or in the wealth, not to harm them. أَلَا أَنَّ ظَلَمَ مُعَاهِدٌ. Verily, who oppresses a mu'ahid? Mu'ahid means he is under the covenant. أَلَا مَنْ ظَلَمَ مُعَاهِدًا أَوْ انْتَقَضَهُ, or he had breached his contract with him, أَوْ كَلَّفَهُ فَوْقَ طَاقَتِهِ, who had burdened him over what he can do. That means he had paid him to pay tax or whatever, more than he can have, or he had told him to do work which he can't do. أَوْ أَخَذَ مِنْهُ شَيْئًا بِغَيْرِ طِيبِ نَفْسٍ مِنْهُ, or he took something from him without that person approving giving that thing, and it's like confiscated, then I am his opponent on the day of resurrection. So also he said that he who kills a person under the covenant, he will not smell the fragrance of paradise. And for the fragrance of paradise can be smelt from a distance of 40 years. That means you're going to be far away from the paradise. And the Prophet ﷺ and the Muslims, they had guarded their covenant. And they did not bring any single letter or single act that would breach the contract. But the Jews, they betrayed. And they betrayed as soon as the Quraysh people, after the Battle of the Badr, just 1 month. 1 month. In Ramadan, the Battle of Badr, and then in Shawwal, following month, the battle happened. So, here we find that Banu Qaynuqa', they had threatened the Prophet ﷺ openly. He said, you are fighting those people who can't fight. If you fight, we are the fighters. And they were numbering 700 fighters. So they were 700 fighters. And they are very good in making weapons. So they are in weaponry, they are manufacturing good weapons. So in terms of shields, javelin or the spear, or the shield, all of that, they're very good in that. And also, the Quraysh, they've been sending them letters saying that if you're not going to expel that man, which is Muhammad ﷺ, from amongst you, if you're not going to fight him, for verily we're going to come and do to your women. I mean, we're going to do something bad to your women as well. So we're going to really expose you. So there was a threat as well from Quraysh to the Jews from Banu Qaynuqa' to go ahead and betray their covenant with the Prophet ﷺ. And when the Jews received that letter, they have decided to betray and to do the treachery with the Prophet ﷺ and the Muslims. And as I said, they were good in making weapons. They are basically blacksmiths, very good. And also they were good in jewelry. So jewelerists as well, they are. That's why they started now, spreading rumors amongst the Medina, unstabilizing the Medina. There was an incident which is recorded in the history, which is in every almost single book that talks about Sirah. That incident was narrated. I want to narrate it because it's unauthentic, but it's not strange for the Jews to do such a thing. That is, a woman, she came to the market and she wanted to buy something. The Jewish man who was talking to her is saying to her, expose yourself, that is to expose her face, because there was a veil at that time. So she refused to do so. So what he did, he tied up, without her realizing and being aware, he tied up the end of her garment to the back of her veil. So they tied up when she was sitting down, as soon as she stood up, that end of her garment pulled away the veil, and the veil pulled away as well. So both things exposed, the face and the bottom part as well. That means the legs and everything. And they started laughing at her, and that's when she been seen, and the Jews were laughing at her. The Muslim, as soon as he saw this in the market, his passion couldn't be controlled, so he straight away he killed the Jewish man, and then the Jews surrounded that Muslim man, they killed him as well, and then the Muslim as well, they came to kill and started and erupted, it triggered the war basically. And this is, as I said, unauthentic, but yet it is being narrated in such a way that it's like almost all historians relate it. But we can't say it's authentic, but as I said, it is not far away from what the Jew can do. So they said, "Oh Muhammad, don't be deceived by those people whom you've defeated. Verily, if you fight us, you will know." So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He had revealed Quran that is warning those people that you're going to have a bad destiny. قُلْ لِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا سَتُغْلَبُونَ وَتُحْشَرُونَ إِلَى جَهَنَّمَ وَبِئْسَ الْمِهَادُ in Surah Al-Imran, verse 12 to 13. Say to the people who are disbelievers that you will be defeated and you will be gathered into hellfire, and what an evil abode. And Allah then subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about this fight. قَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ آيَةٌ فِي فِئَتَيْنِ الْتَقَتْ. There is a sign for you in two groups are fighting with each other. فِئَةٌ تُقَاتِلُ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. A group which is fighting in the sake of Allah. وَأُخْرَى كَافِرَةٌ. And the other one is a disbeliever. يَرَوْنَهُمْ مِثْلَيْهِمْ رَأْيَ الْعَيْنِ. They see them, they twice their number with their own eyes. وَاللَّهُ يُؤَيِّدُ بِنَصْرِهِ مَن يَشَاءُ إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَعِبْرَةً لِأُولِي الْأَبْصَارِ. So this declaration from the Jews to the Prophet of Allah is basically declaring war and also breaching the contract. And not only they have stopped this, they had as well, they started, as I said, unstabilizing the country by making things like, for example, maybe I would say attacking or harming the Muslims, especially the women. So the Prophet ﷺ, he had put them under siege, as we have read, until they have decided to, to come down to his rule. So he wanted to kill them, but Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul, he's the one who said that I will take them and I will get rid of them. So Abdullah ibn Salul, because he's a kafir, he's a hypocrite, pretending to be a Muslim, and he's the head of the hypocrisy. And because they are his allies, so he said to the Prophet of Allah, I'll take care of them. So the Prophet ﷺ, he commanded them to come out of the Medina, and they should not be so whatsoever closer to Medina. So they went, as we said, to Adawat Sham, and they did not stay there for a long time until most of them died. So this is the fate of Banu Qaynuqa. Now we're coming to Ghazwat al-Suhaib. No.
Expedition of Suhaib.
No,
Sawiq.
Sawiq.
Meanwhile, Abu Sufyan was still smarting over the defeat at Badr. He thirsted for another military encounter, one which he felt sure would go their way, and swore he would not bathe until he had fought with Muhammad ﷺ again. With an army of 200 men, he came to Medina, seeking to acquit himself of his oath. Intent on spreading destruction, they raided a settlement named Arid, hacked and burned a number of precious date trees, and got away after killing 2 of the Ansar. When the Prophet ﷺ received news of the raiders, he and his followers went out in pursuit. Abu Sufyan and his men succeeded in eluding the Prophet ﷺ, who pursued them until Karkara al-Qadr. In trying to get away swiftly, the Quraysh were forced to get rid of most of their valuable provisions, especially the cornmeal, the sawiq, from which the expedition got its name.
But this is also, it does not trace itself authentically all the way to the Prophet ﷺ, and it's called Mursal, and it's part of the weak hadith. So we can't really verify if it's authentic. It's been mentioned in Sirat ibn Hisham, and even in the Tabaqat, without even any chain, without isnad. So we don't say that there is a Sawiq battle. Now,
Ka'ab bin Ashraf is killed.
and there is one as well after Ghazwat al-Sawiq. We have Ghazwat the Amr, which is as well is not authentic. The so this is we say that is unauthentic. Ghazwat Bahram, Ghazwat al-Qarada. All of those are being mentioned. Ghazwat al-Bahram, Ghazwat al-Qarada. All of those are mentioned, but they have no trace of authenticity. Qarada, inshallah, can come to it. It's mentioned in the book, so Qarada will talk about it, but it's beforehand. Nah. All of it without chain.
Ka'ab bin Ashraf is killed.
That's an authentic story. Ka'ab bin Ashraf, and he is from the Jews of Banu al-Nadir.
The next thorn in the Muslims' side was Ka'ab bin Ashraf, an extremely...
from Banu al-Nadir. No.
The next thorn in the Muslims' side was Ka'b bin Ashraf, an extremely wealthy Jewish poet whose hatred for the Muslims and their Prophet ﷺ was unrelenting.
No, he said he is a poet and he is wealthy and he's from the most enemy of Islam, Muslims, but also he is beautiful. Top of that, so he is beautiful, was known for his beauty. So that is important because it comes in the story. No.
Ka'b would use his considerable poetic talent to compose and recite derogatory verses against the Prophet ﷺ, his companions, and the honor of Muslim women, while he praised their sworn enemies and incited them to fight the Muslims.
So he's not only making poetry, which is derogatory poetry, that is to dispraise and to belittle the Muslims and scorn at them, but also he had made poetry in Mecca in order to make the Meccaeans get up on their feet and fight the Muslims. So he's provoking even the enemies of Allah to come and fight the Muslims. That's why the Prophet ﷺ gave the order to assassinate him. Now,
Immediately after the Battle of Badr, he traveled to Mecca to stir up passions. To an already bloodthirsty and enraged Quraysh, he orated at length, bidding them to extract vengeance for their defeat. Ka'b was a skilled demagogue and given the high esteem poetry and poets had in Arab society, his words worked a spell on the Quraysh. His call for revenge was welcome, as was his assurance that the Quraysh were on a higher spiritual plane than the Muslims. He exhorted them to learn a lesson from what had happened with Banu Qaynuqa. The Quraysh were a willing audience and they swore to act on Ka'b's advice. Having wound up his propaganda campaign against the Muslims, Ka'b returned to Medina to continue his subversive acts against the Muslim state. When the Prophet ﷺ heard about Ka'b's return to Medina, he said to his companions, Ka'b bin Ashraf has offended Allah and His Messenger. Who will rid me of him?
before we say that, did he mention that he told the people of Quraysh that you are more guided than the Muslims? Which is very important. Did he say that?
It says that, yeah.
Well, the story is that when he was in Mecca, Abu Sufyan asked him the question. He said to him, is our religion dearer to you than the religion of Muhammad or not? And which of the two, of us or him, more guided? So this enemy of Allah, he said, no, you are more guided. And he's from the people of the book. And those who was asking him, Abu Sufyan was an idolater. You are more guided and you are better. That means you are dearer to me. And that's when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he revealed Surah النساء verse 51 to 52. ألم تر إلى الذين أوتوا نصيبا من الكتاب يؤمنون بالجبت والطاغوت ويقولون للذين كفروا هؤلاء أهدى من الذين آمنوا سبيلا. Meaning, don't you see that those people who are given a portion of the book, which are the people of the book, the Jews, and he's talking about him, Ka'b al-Ashraf, that is, يؤمنون بالجبت والطاغوت, they are believing in the jibt والطاغوت, those idols. ويقولون الذين كفروا, and they say to the disbelievers, the idolaters, you are better than those who had believed, than the believers, the Muslims. أولئك الذين لعنهم الله. Those are the ones whom Allah had cursed. ومن يلعن الله فلن تجد له نصيرا. On whom Allah curses, you will find no helpers for him. So here, Ka'b ibn Ashraf, he had declared his death. And not only that, as soon as he heard the victory of the Muslims in the Battle of the Badr and the death of those people of, the mighty people, Abu Jahl, Umayyah, Uqba ibn Abi Mu'ayth, those people. So he said, is this true? Wallahi, those are the noble people of the Arabs, and they are the kings of the people. And by Allah, if Muhammad had killed those, it is better to live under the land rather than to live on top of it. It is better to hide yourself and put your head down rather than to live on top of it. Why? Because he feels that these people are noble and have been killed by the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he made poetry to which is a sexual poetry, in the way that he exposed the companion women. So, I mean, this is the limit. We can't let you to do more than that. Poetry that speaks about the honor of the Muslim woman. And as I said, not only that, he went all the way to Mecca and he started, erupting all those emotions regarding the people who had been killed in the battle of Badr. He started weeping in front of them and reminding them about those people who had been, put into the will of Al-Qalil, Umayyah, Ibn Khalaf, and Abu Jahl, may Allah curse them, and also Umayyah ibn Khalaf, and Uqbah ibn Mu'ayyid, that big kafir as well. All of them, they were killed and were thrown into the well. Right, now here the Prophet ﷺ, he said, who is going to get rid of this man? He had offended Allah and His Messenger. That's when Muhammad ibn Maslama radiallahu anhu, he volunteered. No.
In response, to the Prophet ﷺ's call, Muhammad bin Maslama, Ubad bin Bishr, Abu Naila, Harith bin Aus, and Harith bin Aus, and Abu Abs bin Jab volunteered their services. Muhammad bin Maslama.
Now, those people who have been mentioned, Abu Nail al-Harith, Abu Abs, and Abbad ibn Bishr, all of them, we have narrations which we could really use them to be that those are volunteer. But we know that Muhammad ibn Maslama is the leader now, and he's got some companions to help him.
Muhammad bin Maslama was appointed the head of the mission and accordingly thought up a plan, but since it involved deception, he sought the Prophet ﷺ's consent before putting his plan into action.
No, it's not the deception he consent. Consent to the deception is general. War is based upon deception. But the permission is to say something against the Prophet of Allah. That means to insult the Messenger of Allah. So he wants to take permission from the Prophet of Allah to say that I'm going to insult you, Messenger of Allah. Just like who? Ammar ibn Yasir, who insulted the Prophet ﷺ because he wanted to get away from save himself from the persecution and death. And then after he woke up and he saw the Prophet of Allah coming to him, he realized, that was in Mecca, and he realized what he has done. So he just apologized to the Prophet ﷺ. He said to him, the Prophet, don't worry. If they come back again to do the same thing, that means insult me, no problem. إِلَّا مَنْ أُكْرِهَ وَقَلْبُهُ مُطْمَئِنٌ بِالْإِيمَانِ. That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed. Except for those whom they've been compelled, yet their heart is full of Iman. No problem. But Iman is there. You want to save yourself from death? No problem to utter the word of kufr. Let's hear the story. Now,
having received the Prophet ﷺ's permission to entrap Ka'b, Muhammad bin Maslama went to Ka'b. After Ka'b's initial wariness had worn off, Muhammad confided, this man, indicating the Prophet ﷺ, came to us asking for charity, but he has put us to great trouble.
Right. So here he said to him, this man means the Prophet of Allah, speaking about him in a way to make Ka'b, feel sort of feel, or to deceive and to gain the confidence of Ka'b. This man, Muhammad, he had overtaxed us, and we don't know what to do, but we have to go along with it until we see the end of this man, because at the moment this man is in power, so we can't really say no to him. So we will pay him the tax until we believe that, until we see what is going to take place later on. Is he going to demolish himself? Is he going to lose? Or is he going to win? So we can't really do anything at the moment. That's when Ka'b was happy. Now,
Muhammad bin Maslama's words had the desired effect. Ka'b exclaimed with joy, by God, you people will tire of him even more in the future.
You will tire of him. That's it. You're gonna get bored of it.
Now that Muhammad had gained Ka'b's confidence, he requested a loan of wheat or dates, leaving his weapon as collateral. His request was granted.
No, that wasn't really. It's been cut short a lot. So he said to him, if you can lend us some wheat and barley in order to give to this man, which is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So even Ka'b, he is glad. Even Ka'b, he feels that these people are on his side. No way the Jews will give anything for nothing. Have to have a return. He said, okay, how can I trust, even though that he had said a word that makes you to trust him? He's on your side. No, I'm not going to trust you. He said, how much, what are you going to give me as a pawn? Rahma, a ransom. Give back. When you give me the food, I'll give it to you. So what are you going to give me as pawning? To pawn with me in order for me to be feeling secure that you're going to bring me the money for the barley that I'm going to give you. So he said to him, what do you want? So Ka'b, he said, your women. Give me your wives, your daughters. They said, well, Muhammad Muslim, he said, well, we'll give you our women. You are the most beautiful men in the Arabs. And we can't guarantee what's going to happen to our women. Do you understand? Can't guarantee what's going to happen to our wives and our daughters. So Muhammad Muslim, Ka'b said then, okay, give me your children, your sons, not your daughters, sons, as to be a ransom. So he said, Muhammad Muslim, how can we give you our sons? If we do so, they're going to be labeled, bullied later on. Look, this boy was ransomed for the sake of a handful of barley, handful of corn. All of that, is a shame. So Ka'b said, what are you going to give me? If you're not going to give me your women, you're not going to give me your children, so we'll give you our weapons. This is, as I said, a plan in order to bring the weapons, and he will not be in suspicion. They bring the weapon in order to give it to me as a pawn, as a ransom. So that was a good plan. So he agreed to give him, and also he said to him, there are some friends of mine who are on the same path. That means they have got bored of this man and they want to give him the charity, but they haven't got anything to give him the barley. Please lend them the barley, and they will do the same thing. They will bring their weapons as well in order to take them until they pay back what they owe you. So he agreed. Go ahead.
Next came Abu Naila with a similar complaint. He confided that some of his companions held the same unfavorable opinion of the Prophet ﷺ, and that he would bring them to Ka'b, as they were also in need of Ka'b's help. Ka'b graciously agreed to meet them at a later date, delighted at finding more and more disenchanted Muslims through whom he could hurt the Prophet ﷺ. It was the 14th of Rabi al-Awwal, 3 after Hijri,
which we don't have any authenticity to declare that date. No.
And the full moon was shining down on Ka'b as he lay with his new wife in his fortress.
We don't have, as I said, authenticity of that. Now,
when the 5 armed Muslims called out to him, Ka'b readily went down to see them, disregarding his wife's plea to take care. He was so pleased about his success in finding partners that even the sight of the Muslims' weapons did not startle him. He certainly did not see himself as their target. They set out on a stroll. Abu Naila complimented Ka'b about his perfume and asked permission.
He was actually, they say, he's like he was got recently married. And, go ahead. Translation is not there, go ahead.
Abu Naila complimented Ka'b about his perfume and asked permission to smell his hand. Flattered, Ka'b obliged. Abu Naila sniffed Ka'b's hand and then, holding Ka'b's head in his hands, bade his companions smell the fragrance as well. He asked to do so again and was allowed to smell the fragrance once more. When Ka'b's head was securely in his grasp, Abu Naila urged his comrades, "Seize the enemy of Allah." Instantly, the others struck with their swords, but with no success.
The correct and authentic one is not Abu Naila, it's actually Muhammad ibn Muslim is the one who had held his head. So let's just talk about the story from the authentic. As Muhammad ibn Muslim, he had planned everything, and he said to his friends, before this man descends down, I'm going to stretch my hands to his head. Once I am having the head secured in my hands, I will tell you to go ahead and kill him. Now, when they came to the fortress where he's living, and it was night, he told him to come down. So his wife, he says here in translation, she told him to take care. Actually, she said to him, "No, I'm hearing a sound. It's the sound of blood." She said, "I'm hearing the sound. It is like the sound of blood." You know, like she had a hunch, somehow he's going to be killed. I heard the sound of blood. So he says to her, no, it's my brother Muhammad ibn Maslama, and he is my foster brother as well. He was a prophet as well. And also Abu Naila. And these people, if they're being called any time, they will come to me. So he's telling her, don't to be afraid. Muhammad ibn Maslama, as soon as he came down, he had a very good perfume. Nice perfume that you have. He said, "Yes, I have the most beautiful woman amongst the Arabs," his wife. Muhammad Muslim said, "Can you give me permission to smell it?" So he put his hand on his head and he wiped it to get some of that perfume. And then he smelt it. Then they walked a bit. Then Muhammad Muslim asked him again, "Give me permission, please, just to go and have a smell it again?" He said, "Yeah." So he put his hand on his head, and this time he had grabbed his head. Then he said to his companions, "Go ahead, kill him." So they killed him. And the souls, they came into his bodies until this criminal, or even the enemy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has done more than, he's done more than that, he's been killed like in this way. He had harmed the Muslims. And he had screamed such a scream that made the Jews in those fortresses to be scared, and each one of them had lit some fire, and he woke up from his bed, but he didn't go out until the morning when the caller called that Ka'b ibn Ashraf, was killed. So that's when they were so scared. جزاء وفاقا ولا يظلم ربك أحدا. This is a recompense for a person who deserves to be killed. And this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would do to every person who would plot against Islam and the Muslims. وَلَا يَحِقُ الْمَكْرُ السَّيِّئُ إِلَّا بِأَهْلِهِ. And always the evil plot from the other people, it will only harm those people who have done it. Now, go ahead.
Instantly, the others struck with their swords, but with no success. Finally, Muhammad bin Maslama used his axe to strike Ka'b's abdomen. As the axe cleaved his body, Ka'b died screaming horribly.
Okay, the abdomen is not really authentic. As I said, they struck him, but we don't know how. They killed him anyway. Now,
The sound of the disturbance roused Ka'b's men, who lit torches around the top of the fort, but they did not find the 5 men who got away, having silenced their most vocal enemy at last. Ka'b's death greatly demoralized the Jews. In their newfound sense of carefulness, they decided against open warfare upon the Muslims and went underground, and the Muslims were safe for a while from harassment.
right, now we haven't really talked about the fate of the Banu Nadir. This is the Ka'b al-Ashraf, only one Banu Nadir. But what happened to all Banu Nadir? It is just about 6 months from the Battle of Badr. So the Banu Qaynuqa took place in Shawwal. This one is the Rabi' al-Awwal, the 3rd after Hijrah. So it's about 6 months after Battle of Badr. What happened? Those Jews when they had received the letter from the Quraysh, that is to go and betray the Prophet and also to fight him, Banu Nadir decided for the treachery. He decided to do it. And they have forgotten everything they had with the Prophet ﷺ from the covenant. So they sent to the Prophet of Allah ﷺ to bring 30 of his companions, and then 30 of our rabbis will come and meet them. And then we will come to meet one another midway. So they would hear from you and they would hear from us. So if they believed you, those 30 rabbis, we will believe in you. And of course in that, they plotted already to kill the Prophet ﷺ and those who were with him. وَمَكَرُوا وَمَكَرَ اللَّهُ. So they wanted the Prophet of Allah to come with 30 of his companions, and then 30 of the rabbis to meet them, midway, somehow in midway. And then if the rabbis embrace Islam, then he will embrace Islam. وَمَكَرُوا, they plotted, and Allah planned. وَمَكَرَ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ. And Allah is the best of the planners. And Allah, when He plans, is the best of the planners. And here the planning, Allah Azza wa Jal, it's good, it's for hikmah. Can the planning of human being, the makr, to be for hikmah and good? Yes. Like the planning of whom? The planning of Maslam. And also the planning in the Quran of Yusuf alayhi salam. He planned to get his brother. What did he do? He put the thing in his brother to make him use the thief, but he's not the thief, in order to make him with him. That's planning as well, it's makr. So the makr Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always good. And if he does plot against the enemies, because the enemies, they are evil. And that's why you need to make to the dua, وَلَا تَمْكُرْ عَلَيْهِ. Oh Allah, umkur li وَلَا تَمْكُرْ عَلَيْهِ. And don't make the enemies be having a ability to plot against you. And also Allah, don't plan against me because of my evil thoughts as well. It's another interpretation. So we have that where? Where was that? Al-Adab and Mufrat. Right. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informed His Prophet ﷺ through Jibreel alayhi salam what the Jews of Banu Nadir had planned to assassinate him. So the Prophet ﷺ, he came with the army. And when the Jews had seen the army and marching forth towards them, they fled. And they went to their fortresses. And their fortresses were strong. They locked their gates and sought protection through those fortresses. Prophet ﷺ sieged them for nights, and they're about to surrender. But again, the head of the hypocrites, Abdullah ibn Abi Salul, he had sent for them, telling them, don't surrender. Don't go down from your fortresses. For verily we are with you. We will prevent you from anything that would harm you. And if you've been fought, we will give you help. And if you to be exiled, we will be exiled with you, come out with you. So they believed him. And then they sent to the Prophet ﷺ, it was Banu Nadir, they say, we will not come out of our land. You do whatever you like. Then that's the Prophet ﷺ, he commanded for their palm trees to be cut and to be burnt. That's if you remember we talked about in the Jihad chapter. Soon as he has done that, they were so terrified. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala came to them from sources or from places where they never thought of. So they had asked the Prophet ﷺ that they would come down and would leave on their camels and take whatever their camels can load, not the weapons though. So they asked the Prophet ﷺ to surrender and leave and take whatever their camels can what? Carry. So the Prophet ﷺ had accepted that proposal, and the man started himself pulling down his windows and doors. يُخْرِبُونَ بُيُوتَهُمْ بِأَيْدِيهِمْ, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes that. And those people, they are demolishing their own houses with their own hands. So the man started pulling down the doors, the windows, and they have left Medina. Some of them they went to Khaybar. Some of them they went to Bilad al-Sham. Allah says in Surah An-Naml, verse 50 to 52. وَمَكَرُوا مَكْرًا وَمَكَرْنَا مَكْرًا وَهُمْ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ. They planned, they plotted, and we planned. And they did not know about our plan. فَانظُرْ كَيْفَ كَانَ عَاقِبَةُ مَكْرِهِمْ. See how we have the destiny and the evil destiny of their evil plot, that we have destroyed them. أَنَّا or إِنَّا أَنَّا دَمَّرْنَاهُمْ وَقَوْمَهُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ. We have destroyed them all together. فَتِلْكَ بُيُوتُهُمْ خَاوِيَةً مِنْ ظَلَمٍ. So this is their houses being left empty because of their ظلم and justice. إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَةً لِقَوْمٍ يَعْلَمُونَ. So Surah Al-Hashr is being revealed regarding the Jews of Banu Nadir. Sa'id ibn Jubayr radiallahu anhu wa ardah, he said, I said to Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, Surah Al-Hashr. So he said, no, don't say Surah Al-Hashr, say Surah Banu Nadir. Don't say Surah Al-Hashr. This is Surah Al-Hashr. I said, don't Surah Al-Hashr, it's Surah Banu Nadir. Because all of it talks about Banu Nadir. In Surah Al-Hashr, we see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala started the surah with tasbih, glorification, and He ended the surah with tasbih. سبح لله ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم. And then Allah says at the end of it, يسبح له ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم. Also in this surah we can find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows how He takes revenge from His enemies. And He had come to Banu Nadir from the places where they never thought of, they never planned, they never had it in their thoughts, they never got ready for it. Allah says, هو الذي أخرج الذين كفروا من الكتاب من ديارهم لأول الحشر. It is He, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He had exiled the people of Kuffar from the people of the book for the gathering. ما ظننتم أن يخرجوا. You never thought that they would come out. وظنوا أنهم مانعتهم حصونهم من الله. That they thought their citadels and their fortresses, they're going to be protecting them from Allah. فَأَتَاهُمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَمْ يَحْتَسِبْ. Allah Azza wa Jalla came to them from the sources or from places they never thought of. وَقَذَفَ فِي قُلُوبِهِمُ الرُّعْبَ. And He sent in their heart terror. يُخْرِبُونَ بُيُوتَهُمْ بِأَيْدِيهِمْ. They are demolishing their houses with their own hands. وَأَيْدِي الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. And also the hands of the believers. فَاعْتَبِرُوا يَا أُولِي الْأَبْصَارِ. Have a remembrance, as something to learn from, all you people of knowledge. So the terror was in the hearts, and the terror is a weapon. If it's being used correctly, it is used against the enemies of Allah. But the terror that we see at the moment, which is terrorism, that's the terrorism which is that you kill your neighbor when you are living with him. That's not a right thing. We'll discuss that inshallah as well. Thirdly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this surah you can see that He had praised the Muhajirun al-Ansar and those who had sought and followed their path. للفقراء المهاجرين الذين أخرجوا من ديارهم وأموالهم يبتغون فضلا من الله ورضوانا وينصرون الله ورسوله أولئك هم الصادقون. Allah describes those fuqara, poor people from the Muhajirun, the ones who have been exiled from their lands, from Mecca, and they left their wealth, they seek the bounty of Allah, and they seek the pleasure of Allah, and they are championing Allah and His Messenger. They are the ones who are truthful. أولئك هم الصادقون. والذين تبوأوا الدار والإيمان من قبلهم يحبون من هاجر إليهم ولا يجدون في صدورهم حاجة مما أوتوا ويؤثرون على أنفسهم ولو كان بهم خصاصة. And those who were the inhabitants of the Medina, and they are having the Iman, they will love those who had migrated to them, and they don't find anything in their chest regarding anything that the brothers from the Muhajirin they want. That means they don't have any preference to themselves. They give precedence to their brothers. وَمَنْ يُوقَ شُحَّ نَفْسِهِ فَأُولَئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. And those who can avoid their own stinginess, then those are the ones who are successful. Also in this surah we find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَلَمْ تَرَ إِلَى الَّذِينَ نَافَقُوا يَقُولُونَ لِإِخْوَانِهِمْ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا مِنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ لَئِنْ أُخْرِجْتُمْ لَنَخْرُجَنَّ مَعَكُمْ وَلَا نُطِيعُ فِيكُمْ أَحَدًا أَبَدًا. That is, the munafiqun, they have said to their brothers in kufr, from the Jews, that is, said to them that, to their brothers, that is, if you are to be exiled, we'll be exiled with you. When قُتِلْتُمْ, and if you've been to fought they're being fought, we'll give you help. Wallahu yashhadu innahum lakadhibun. But they were liars. They gave him promises, hypocrites to the Jews, but they were liars. لا يخرجوا لا يخرجون معهم. If they were to be exiled, they will not come out with them. The munafiqun said in the Medina. وَلَيْنْ قُتِلُوا, and if they were to be fought, the Jews, لَا يَنْصُرُونَهُمْ, those hypocrites will not give them help, because they did not give them help. وَلَئِنْ نَصَرُوهُمْ, if they had to give them the help, لَا يُوَلُّنَّ الْأَدْبَارَ, they would flee and turn their backs, ثُمَّ لَا يُنْصَرُونَ, and they will not give in help. So, alhamdulillah, this is Surah Al-Hashr, and we find plenty of, as well, lessons to be learned from this. We could see here the lesson number one that we have learned, that any person who stops in front of Muslims and Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give him the demolition, whether now or later on. So look what happened to all those people who had plotted against the Muslims. That's what Badr. And what did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did? The ones who are from the Jews of Banu Qaynuqa, when they plotted against the Muslims. And look at what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did to the Jews of Banu Nadir. So this is a lesson to be learned for us, for the enemies who are saying that this is the haqq. How can you fight the haqq? How can you fight a person who says, Rabbi Allah, Allah is my Lord? We learn as well that the victory is only from Allah. If Allah gives you the help and the victory, nobody will defeat you. And if He let you down, who's going to give you help after Him? So who had given the victory to the people, the Muslims in the Battle of Badr? It's Allah. Who has given the victory to the people in the Battle of the Trench? Is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're going to learn as well later on the Battle of Hunayn. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him the victory in the Battle of Mu'tah. All of that, all those battles come inshallah ahead. And who's the one who had, through this fear of the believers and those people from the Jews from Banu Nadir who breached their covenant? It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we need to know, and we have to believe firmly that the nasr, the victory, is from Allah Azza wa Jalla. وَمَا النَّصْرُ إِلَّا مِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ. Victory is only from Allah. Inna Allah Azza wa Jalla. That is, and also we need to know from the laws of universal that Allah had said that you will not gain victory until you champion Allah. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِن تَنْصُرُ اللَّهِ يَنْصُرُ. If you give victory to Allah, Allah will give you victory and affirm your feet. So, this is what we have learned. Also, we have learned that with the Aqidah Sahiha and with the good righteous deed and with following of Manhaj al-Sahaba radiallahu anhum, we will gain the victory against our enemies, regardless whom they are. And this can be seen from Surah Al-Hashr, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He talked about following the Muhajirun and following the Ansar. And this, as I said, Surah Al-Hashr, as Ibn Abbas said, is called Surah Bani Nadr. In the surah you'll find Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah, Tawheed al-Asma' al-Sifat, all of those. Also the Iman, the last day of the judgment, the last day in the Iman of Jannah, Hellfire, Paradise, all of those you'll find in the surah. Also you find the surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala encouraging us to do righteous good deeds. And that is why Allah had started the surah with the tasbih. So also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the middle of the surah, He reminds us of the taqwa. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, ittaqu Allah wal tanzur nafsun ma qaddamat لغد واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون. So Allah Azza wa Jalla is reminding us to have taqwa. Also we learn from the battles that we need to learn the Aqidah al-Salafiyah, and that we have to understand our book and our Sunnah through the understanding of the Salaf, Sahaba radiallahu anhu. So those who are from our youth, we see them on the TV, confiscating the media, subhanAllah. You understand the book and the Sunnah with their own emotions. And who's their scholar? Is themselves, their own scholars. They are the scholars of themselves. They're not looking at the great scholars of ours. They're not even going to listen to them, subhanAllah. And some of them, they use the incident of the assassination of Ka'b ibn Ashraf to make it for him okay to go and assassinate the person next to him. Subhanallah. Drawn up, they use that as another point. You see, look, Muhammad ibn Maslam. When Muhammad ibn Maslam, he went down with the command of the Prophet of Allah. And the Prophet of Allah takes the command from Allah Azza wa Jalla. Where is the person who had given you the command from Allah? It's only the shaitan gave you the command, nobody else. And also, that person, Muhammad, when he killed, nothing had happened to the Muslims because he went back to the Muslim state. And he was declaring that I'm the killer. Not to assassinate and hide yourself and then go to Al Jazeera, huh? Go to somewhere else and go to Al Jazeera and put all the Muslims in jeopardy. Is that the way? No. He went to a Muslim country. He's in a Muslim country, he's in his own land. So he's declaring that, not in Al Jazeera. No, Muhammad, I'm the killer. Come and get me. They can't get him. Says, with the command of not the Prophet of Allah, he's the head of the state. Not just kids here and there that's getting together and they're plotting to kill so and so. So it's very important to learn this. So Islam is nothing to do with all these terrorist acts that have taken place. And I'm not saying this because to show something that we are not really are. We are. Unfortunately, those people, as soon as we say this, what do they say about us? Government scums, umala, traitors. I'm sure they receive money from America. Subhanallah, we can't get away, These people are accused us that we receive money from America, and the ones from the other side, they accuse us we receive money from the Saudi Arabians. We must be rich, guys. I must be a millionaire. I'm receiving both American and Saudi Arabian money. MashaAllah, be rich. But the problem is I'm not happy. They're not happy with me. The Americans, and they're not happy with the Saudi Arabians. Even those Muslims are there, they're not happy with me. Happy with us, the manhaj. Because we are the Quraba. And we are the Masjid Quraba. Strangers. And the stranger has to do all this. And he's like holding the religion, it's like holding a burning coal. That's what we are. Holding on a burning coal. We have to be patient. From our own brothers. From our own brothers. So when we talk about an issue about what is taking place in our Muslim countries, the person working with the government, that's why. Wallahi, we don't work for governments. And you see what is happening. You can't really prove it more than this. Allahu Musta'an. We talk more from emotions. Book and Sunnah. Use the book and the Sunnah with the fahm of Salaf al-Ummah, understand that you will be all the time on safety and security. If you don't use that, bear the consequences, which is very bad and evil. By this, we stop. And we just saw the qarada, finish it up. It's not authentic. No, it's not authentic anyway.
In Jamad al-Awwal, 3 after Hijri, the Quraysh sent a trade caravan to Syria by the way of Iraq. They entrusted the caravan to Safwan bin Umayyah and were not overly concerned at the risks involved since the route went through Najd, far from Medina and the menace of the Muslims. When the Prophet ﷺ came to know about the Qurayshi caravan with its precious cargo, he dispatched a cavalry of 200 men under the command of Zayd bin Haritha radiallahu anhu. At Najd, as the caravan halted at a spring named Qarda, Zayd and his men swooped down on the caravan and its travelers. Even though the men managed to flee, their possessions fell into the hands of Muslims, as did the caravan guide Furat bin Hayyan. The humane treatment Furat experienced at the hands of his captors so impressed him that he became Muslim. When the booty from the caravan was evaluated, its worth stood as 100,000 dirhams. With this raid, the Muslims had inflicted on the Quraysh an economic defeat as devastating as the military one at Badr.
The story is in Tabaqat ibn Sa'd without a chain. So it is not contrary, you can't say it's authentic, because we don't have a chain to check it. But we have Furat ibn Hayyan. This Furat ibn Hayyan's story is authentic, himself. That he was from the captives, we don't know which battle it is. He was from the captives. And Furat ibn Hayyan, he just passed by the Muslims, and he said, Salamu alaikum. So the Muslims, he said, this man is just saying Salamu alaikum in order to get away from what? From death. To pretend that he's a Muslim. So they said that, but the Prophet ﷺ, he said, we will hand them to their own words. So they said, Salamu alaikum, to be a Muslim, we will hand them to their own words. So we can't really test their hearts, can we? So they said, a Muslim is a Muslim. So he said, Prophet, he mentioned his name. Some of those Muslims, some of those people who say that Salamu alaikum, and say that they pretended to be a Muslim is we surrender them and we hand them to their own words. One of them is Furat ibn Hayy. So this person mentioned by the Prophet of Allah is to be that we believe his words. And he was actually later on a good Muslim. And that is why we say if in the battlefield somebody had said Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, you're about to kill him or shoot him, you're not allowed to kill him or shoot him. Even though that you are 100%, he had said it because he's scared of your killing. You're going to kill him. I can't. So I would stop. But if, for example, I stopped and somehow he proved to be a cunning person, he wanted to kill me, then I'll kill him. So he just turned my back and then he said, just shoot me, and then I'll shoot him. But if he said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, I can't kill him. I can't. And that is what happened to the person who is the cousin of Imran ibn Husayn, radiallahu anhu. His cousin. They were in a battle. And Imran ibn Husayn, he was following a kafir, mushrik, idolater. He about to kill him and put the javelin or the spear in his heart. He said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah Rasulullah. Killed him. But he thought he's done something wrong. He went to the Prophet ﷺ. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said to him, did you open his heart? Did you open his belly and got his heart out? He opened his chest, sorry. Got his heart out to see whether he said it correctly, rightly or not. He said, I said, Allah, I'm going to cut his chest and bring his heart out and I will know if he's correct or not. I mean, how can this doesn't happen? He said, well, you didn't accept his word, nor you have cut his heart, cut his chest to know if his words are correct or not. So he left him. And he was really upset with him. And then that person died. Imran ibn Husayn, he said, we buried him. He's a Muslim. When we buried him, the following day we found him on top of the land. Come out of the grave, can't come out. He's a dead person. So we thought the enemies, they came and dug him up. So we put our boys to guard him. Real men. On the following day, he was on the land. He was not in the grave. So we thought maybe our boys had slept and the enemies came and dug him up. So we ourselves buried him. And then we slept. Following day, he was on top of the ground. So we took him and we threw him in the valley. Because, he doesn't want to be buried. They went to the Prophet and tell him. So the Prophet, he said, verily the land will accept more horrible than this, more evil than that, than the person who's done this. But Allah wants to show you the greatness of La ilaha illallah. That is, La ilaha illallah, it would make your body sacred, makes your wealth sacred. If they say La ilaha illallah, you can't kill me, can't take my money, except with a due right. What time is the other? 28, we've got 2 minutes. So if any questions, please go ahead with 2 minutes. Uncle, first of all, do you have any questions? No questions for uncles. Now. After that person, we don't know. The story's been said, he's been left. Either he's been buried later on or not, we don't know. This is in Sunan Ibn Majah, the authenticity of it by Shaykh al-Albani to be Hasan. Some of the scholars said it's unauthentic. But we have Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim. Story Usama ibn Zayd, radiallahu anhu warda. So, when he said to the Messenger of Allah, what if I cut him and he cut my hand, and then he cut me and then I want to go and kill him. And he says, La ilaha illallah, what do I do? So he said to him, if you kill him, you will be like him before he said the word. Do you understand that? If you kill him, you become like him. That means your blood will be lawful, like him. That means we're going to be killing you. Your blood will be lawful, like him, before you have killed him. So it's very important to accept that word according to what the person says. I can't verify that from the heart. Now, one minute left, please. A little bit.
Why did Muhammad...
Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Muhammad ibn Maslama?
Yeah.
Radiallahu anhu.
Why didn't he go to him straight away? Why did he have to come up with this plan?
Kill him straight away?
Yeah.
Because if you're going to kill him straight away, he might get away.
No, I mean, he was in his house.
No, he was not in his house. He went into the fortress. You haven't seen the fortress. Fortress, I don't know if you've been to a castle. It's like a castle. castle's got floors. So they Jews, they live at the top. They want them down. That's the reception. Reception is down. So they want to get him down. That's number one. Number two, they only want to kill him, not his wife. So they want to make sure that the death is going to take him. That's justice. It's dark. Remember, there's no electricity, no, British gas there. Supply electricity. Okay, we stop here, inshallah. Subhanakallah bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.